Hey guys, welcome to this new program, this new series, whatever you want to call it, that we're starting here at Pleasant Hill Missionary Church. We're going to take Going Deeper, and I enjoyed Going Deeper. I liked doing it, and I learned a lot from it. But we're going to take it, I think we're just going to let it go by the wayside, and I wanted to try something else, something that I've been thinking about for a while, which was the fact that I really wanted to sit down and have a conversation with you guys over some coffee. Or whatever, chai, tea, whatever it is you like, and just have an honest conversation. What's going on in your mind? What's going on in your life that you want to talk about? What are your questions about God and Jesus? Or maybe about the last sermon that I had? What's your questions about Christianity? And so I'd like to be able to address those questions, at least some of them. And so we're starting a series. I'm calling it Coffee and Questions, because I like alliteration, and that was simple. And so Coffee and Questions, I want to thank you and welcome you to the first episode of Coffee and Questions. And of course, for this to be successful, we need some questions, some good questions, or just questions in general. And so if you have questions, some of you might have questions right now. And why is this happening, or what's going on with this, or why does Jesus say this or that in the Bible? And you've got these questions, and you can submit them. You can put them in the comments underneath YouTube videos, or if you're watching this on our website, you can email them in to us, info@pleasanthillchurch.org. If you're here on Sunday mornings, feel free to ask those questions to me in person, and I may be able to answer them right there, but I maybe would love to do a video on it also. And so while we get started here, for our first question on Coffee and Questions, I want to go back to a classic question. And it's a very real question, a very valid question, a question that I run into often about God and about Christianity, from Christians and non-Christians alike. And I think sometimes we as Christians can either hide from this question and hope we never get to have to answer it, or we can kind of brush it off to the side and not address it as it should be. And so I want to say that this is a very valid question, and it's the question of, if God exists, why is there pain and suffering and evil in this world? If he's all good and all loving and all powerful, why is there so much pain that's here in this world? And this question is phrased in many different ways. I've heard it said in many different forms as I've done ministry. The most poignant was when I was talking to a person who was telling me about how their young daughter walked off the end of a pier and drowned because their ex wasn't paying attention to them. And if God exists, why did that happen? How can we address this question without addressing the heart of of such pain? And if that's you, I want you to understand, if you're carrying pain from a tragic accident, if if something has happened to you or to a loved one, maybe it's something more visceral, like someone who injured your family in a criminal act. Maybe it's a pain that comes from a natural calamity, a tornado that has stolen one of your loved ones. Maybe it's an old pain that comes out of your childhood from a parent who didn't love you in a godly fashion, or maybe simply left you. If this is you, I want you to know that I'm sorry for your pain. And I know that that's kind of a pat answer, and it's kind of cliche, but I want you to understand that I'm not trying to make light of your pain, of your loss in any way. I'm not trying to minimize the heart, the reality of your hurt that's in your heart and your life. I cannot fully grasp the depth of that pain, and nor can I provide you with an answer to why did this happen. I can't do that. What I can do is only address the broader, less personal question of why I know God exists in spite of the hurt and the pain and the evil and the suffering in this world. But I do want you to know that you are loved. And so on to the question. Atheists long ago resolutely declared that God is dead. And one of their strongest arguments that they held in their arsenal was this kind of simple but not easy logical statement. Now, it's made concise, and anything that's made concise has a certain amount of, assumption built into it. But, you say if their argument was if God is all-powerful, he has the ability to stop suffering. If God is all good, he wants to stop suffering. Yet, suffering still exists. Evil still exists. So, either God is not all-powerful, or he is all-powerful but not all good because he doesn't want to stop the suffering. And either way, this is not really a God worth serving, and thus God does not exist. That's the logical way of placing all those questions. And of course, that seems like a very solid bit of reasoning until you study it a little bit deeper. Anything that's succinct, as I said, has to make certain assumptions. And so I'm not trying to say that their logic was, just incredibly simple, but they simplified it to the point where there's certain assumptions. And in those assumptions, you begin to see the flaw in this logic. You've got to go beyond the assumptions that are made in that logic. And unfortunately, I don't want to make a 45-minute video. We're going to keep these to shorter videos, so our time is running out for today. So I'd encourage you to think about it. What are the assumptions made in this logical argument, and how does it begin to break apart under scrutiny? Because I do believe that it does break apart under scrutiny, and I believe fully that God is not just something that we have faith in, someone we have faith in, but it's God's existence is something that is very incredibly logical as well. And so, as I said earlier, I want you to understand you are loved, and thank you for taking some time to watch this video, and I look forward to our next conversation next week. Thank you.